we were not created to be in small places. We were not created to stay in small little places where we feel claustrophobic and tied down and stuck. We were created to soar. We were created to fly. We were created to go into big, wide, open spaces. And that's why in your life right now, if you feel like you're in a narrow place, you're in a small little spot, you feel like you're gonna die. Maybe not physically, but emotionally or spiritually, you feel so confined to the space you're in. I don't know what you're going through in your life right now that might feel a little bit confined. You might feel like you're going through stuff in your life that you're like, I cannot handle the pain of what I'm experiencing. But I want you to know today that God did not create you for that pain, but He allows some of that narrowness to come through to develop you into the person that He needs you to be to impact the world in greater ways.
Hey, it's DJ, and you're listening to the Rein It In podcast, a weekly conversation about learning how to reign in every area of your life. You weren't created to be small, stuck, or ruled by fear. You were created to reign. Make sure to subscribe and follow for tools and inspiration to help you rein it in. Now, here's today's conversation. Welcome to the first episode of Rein It In podcast. I am your host, DJ Ikeler. If I've never met you, thanks for tuning in. Thanks for listening, especially on my first podcast, because it's going to be exciting. My goal is to do this on a weekly basis and really to just inspire people to reign in every area of your life. Now, I'm getting accommodated with how this works, but for today's episode, I thought what I would do is just talk to you really about why I am doing this podcast and what is the heart behind the name Rein It In. If you noticed, it's Reign, R-E-I-G-N, not like R-E-I-N or R-A-I-N. And so part of the heart behind this is this idea that you are created to reign in life, R-E-I-G-N, not R-E-I-N, but R-E-I-G-N. And all of us are created to rule and to reign. If you are a follower of Christ, if you are a believer and you are someone that has faith, I want you to listen, and I want to press into you especially, because that's who I am, and that's very much a part of my life and a part of my story, and will be a huge part of this platform as well. I believe that God created every single one of us on purpose, for a purpose, with a purpose. And that purpose is for us to reign with Him here on the earth until the day we die. We were not created to stay stagnant. We're not created to stay stuck. We're not created to stay carrying around the baggage that we carry all the time. We are created to reign. So let's talk about some areas of what it looks like to reign in our lives, because I do not believe that we were created to live small lives. And my hope with this platform, as I'm building this out and inviting people in, is no matter what we talk about, I always want to do it with the mindset of whatever we're facing, we're coming through it. We're not coming to it. We're not getting to a mountain. When I used to preach all the time, I use this example all the time. Like, I'm never going to get, my grandma was broke and mama was broke, so I'm always going to be broke. And I just go around the mountain over and over. My great-grandma had this disease, and then my grandma had this disease, and now my mom has this disease, and so I'm always going to have this disease, and I go around the mountain. Remember that old song? She'll be coming around the mountain when she comes. Promise I won't sing anymore because that might lose followers, but that old song, she'll be coming around the mountain. And I used to see this visual, like you go around this mountain over and over, because that's just what my family cycle is. Everyone in my family has diabetes. Everyone in my family dies of cancer. Everyone in my family is on government assistance and has to eat government cheese and never gets ahead. And everyone in my family only ever works for someone. No one ever starts a business or starts a ministry or starts a nonprofit. That's not me. And I want to say to you, if that's where you find yourself, or those kind of words have been spoken over you, that is a lie. It's not the truth. The truth is, you were created to reign. You were not created to live a small life. You were not created to just shrink back and fall into patterns and systems of your family line. You weren't created to just survive. Don't take this a cheesy cliche, but you were created to thrive. I believe that with all of my heart, all of my being. What's really interesting is in the times of my life when I struggled the most, the thing that I had such a hard time holding on to was this concept right here, believing that I was created to reign still, even though I was in situations that felt like it was so hopeless I never knew what tomorrow would look like. I've been there. And if you are in that place right now where you feel like you have no idea what I'm going through, I get it because I've been there. I'm going to talk more about it. But I want to start this first episode setting up the foundation of everything that we're trying to build with this podcast and the book I'm writing is with the premise that you were created to reign. You were not created to live restricted. You were created to reign. From the beginning of time, if you study creation, God created humanity in the Garden of Eden, and he gave them a mandate, and it was to rule, to reign. It was to go out. He said, have dominion over. He told them from the very beginning that I have given you the authority over the world that I've placed you in. Again, it's not a dictatorship. It's not an authority like, oh, I'm the big authority. It's, in fact, if we want to go to New Testament and just get preachy for a minute, if you're not a believer, totally welcome. Glad you're listening in. I probably go back to these things so often because it's just in me. I'm a church boy. I've been in church since I came out of the womb of my mother. In fact, she used to joke that she should have named me Samuel and dropped me off there because, listen, it's like in my DNA. But if you go to the New Testament, and Jesus said that when he was on the earth and then he lived and he was crucified and he died and he rose again from the dead. And then after 40 days, he ascended back into heaven. Before he went, he gave us what is called the Great Commission. And he said, all authority in heaven and on earth has been given to me. And then he said, he gives it to us. He gives it to you and I. He said, I'm going to go. I'm going to send you the Holy Spirit, which is going to be like your helper. It's going to be your guide. It's going to be the person of God that guides you through your life. But he said, I give you authority. If you read the book of Mark in the last chapter, chapter 16 of Mark, he literally says, I've given you the authority to raise the dead. Now, that might scare you a little bit. And you're like, oh, wow, this guy is crazy. He's off his rocker. Listen. If you truly understand who God created you to be, you would be crazy. And can I just say this? Everything in my life is not in order. Everything in my life is not perfect. Everything in my life is not where it will be. But can I tell you that I am sitting in a miracle right now? I live in a home that I could have only dreamt of having just 5 years ago. My kids live a life that I can't even comprehend. It's not about money. It's not about jobs and all that. What I want you to know is that no matter where you are right now, you don't have to stay stuck there. You were created to reign. You will come through. If you came to it, you will come through it. You don't have to stay broken, defeated, depressed, annoyed, anxious, angry, bitter, whatever it is. You don't have to stay in that broken place. God created you to reign. In fact, there's this word that if you know the Old Testament story of the Egyptians and they were in captivity and the people, they were God's people and he had chosen them and he had called them and they got to a place of captivity. And we all get to those places at times. We go through seasons where we were really free and then we find ourselves totally stuck in a rut, or maybe we're being abused by someone, or maybe we're coming under authority that isn't healthy and all these things. And so they find themselves in this place of captivity. And the place they found themselves in captivity was the country of Egypt. But if you study out the word Egypt in the original Hebrew, and actually the word in Hebrew and in Aramaic, both languages for Egypt, is this word called Mitzrayim. Mitzrayim. I'm going to look at my notes a little more. It's spelled Mizraim, but it's actually pronounced MIT and then SRAY, Mitzrayim. Mitzrayim. What the M word means is it actually means the word Egypt in Hebrew and Aramaic means boundaries, limits, restrictions. Isn't it interesting that the place that people found themselves in captivity had a name that meant captivity? In fact, they say if you were to take all those words and summarize it in one thing, what Egypt truly means in Hebrew and Aramaic is the narrow place. Egypt wasn't just the place where God's people lived. Egypt was what it felt like to live there. Egypt is not just a place where they found themselves, but they actually found that Egypt had gotten down on the inside of them. And many of us know that place as well. If you're still listening, it's because I've probably caught something in your ear or in your mind where you're going, I relate to that. I know what it feels like to be stuck. I know what it feels like to be anxious. I feel like I was created for more, but I feel like I've always been told to hold it back and don't step out and don't follow my dreams and don't go try to do this. And I've always been pulled back. I feel like I've been living in some kind of restricted place, whether it's in my health or in my finances, in my marriage, in my relationships. I don't know what it is for you. But all of us find ourselves in these places of captivity, these places that are like Egypt. It doesn't even have to be. It's not a geographical location. We find ourselves there emotionally or spiritually or mentally or physically. We find ourselves in Egypt, the narrow place. Now, the narrow place for you could look like it did for me. It looked like anxiety for a lot of years. I'll share more of that, like I said, in the coming episodes in my book coming out this year. But the narrow place could look like a place where you are living in so much anxiety that on the outside you're trying to mask it and make yourself look amazing and look like you've got it all together and everything's working. And look at my social media. It's amazing. But on the inside, you are literally breaking down. That's a narrow place. Maybe for you, the narrow place looks like loss. Maybe in 2025, you lost a family member, you lost a spouse, you lost a grandparent, you lost a parent, you lost a loved one, and everything, you just came through the holidays and everything feels a little bit off. It feels a little restricted. It feels a little confined. It feels a little bit narrow because Christmas 2025 wasn't the same as it was in previous years because of the loss. Or maybe you lost a job and it looked different for your family this year because you couldn't afford to buy gifts. I don't know what that loss is for you. It might just be that whatever that loss is your narrow place. For someone else, it might be waiting. You're just waiting for that next thing. You're waiting for that girl to come. Maybe you're like me and you're 24 years old and you had never dated anyone except for a couple blind dates that you got bribed to go on because you got to drive your friend's cool car. Another story for another time. But you're like, God, am I ever going to find someone? Am I just going to be single over and over? Maybe you're waiting for that promotion. You're waiting for that next job. I don't know what you're waiting for, but I can tell you that if you're in a season of waiting or a season of loss or a season of anxiety, or you've got broken dreams or broken relationships or unanswered questions or unanswered prayers, I've been there as well. And all of us go through this time where we're in this confined, restricted Egypt. We're in a narrow place, but I don't believe that we were called to live in that narrow place. You were not called to live restricted. You were called to reign. You're not created for those small things. You're created to face them and go through them. Face the crisis, face the circumstance, face the job loss, face the loss of a family member, face the mental issue that you're struggling with, anxiety or depression. You're called to face it. Your breakdown can become your breakthrough. That's what it looks like to reign in your life, because God didn't create you to stay stuck in that spot. He didn't create you to stay stuck in a rut. He didn't create you to be stuck up against a wall and just feel like I can't ever get out. In fact, look what Psalm 118:5 says. I love this. One translation says, when hard pressed, I cried to the Lord. and he brought me into a spacious place. Another translation says, pushed to the wall, I called out to God. From wide open spaces, he answered. Notice the pattern of Psalm 118. There's pressure, pushed against the wall, narrow, confined, restricted. And then what does he do? He says, I cried out. I cried out. I think oftentimes we've been so taught to mask what we feel, to mask our emotions. We don't want to deal with it. And so if we feel restricted, or we feel confined, or we feel stressed, or we feel anxious and all these things, we're taught not to talk about it, because I got to stay back in that confinement, and I can't let anyone know that everything's not perfect in my life and all this stuff. And I feel like culture the last 10 or so years has really embraced vulnerability, which is a really great thing. I think vulnerability is an amazing thing. I think honesty is an amazing thing. I've always thought just because you have faith doesn't mean you ignore reality. Absolutely. But I do feel like there's something that my generation, at least for myself, has missed, is we've gotten really content to stay in our vulnerability but not move past it. We've gotten really content to say, hey, I struggle with this issue and I'm working through it and I'm getting help and I'm trying to work through and all this. But it's like we stay in that place over and over. And the part that I think we're missing oftentimes, and maybe it's what you've been missing in your life right now, and maybe I'm just the first person to say it to you, is the part where you cry out to God. To get out of the narrow place into a place where you reign, this is the piece that I want to leave you with today for episode number 1. You gotta cry out to God. There came a moment when I realized I could not figure it out on my own anymore. I did not have enough strength. It only happened when I got to my lowest point and I did what Psalm says right here, and I cried out to God. And if I could sit here and tell you my whole story, from everything in our life falling apart over the course of about 3.5 years, in 18 months, all of it came back more than I ever could even begin to explain. But it took that moment where I said, I got to cry out and I got to say, God, I can't do this without you anymore. I don't know how to do this. I've tried to figure it out. I've made a lot of mistakes. I've made so many mistakes, but I had to do what David said in Psalms, and I had to out to God when I got to that restricted place and I was against the wall, and I'd sat against the wall for a long time. I tried to act like I wasn't against the wall, and I was posting everything on social media to look like I wasn't against the wall, but the reality was I was against the wall. But when I cried out, he took me into a wide open space, a spacious place. Listen to what the Message Bible says about the spacious place. I love this in 2 Corinthians chapter 6. Paul writes and he says, I can't tell you how much I long for you to enter this wide, open, spacious life. We didn't fence you in. I know this is a paraphrase, but I love that. We didn't create the fence that you put around yourself. God didn't do that to you. I did it to myself. The smallness you feel comes from within you. Your lives aren't small, but you're living them in small ways. Open up your lives. Live openly and expansively. That passage confronts me because sometimes the narrow place isn't just around me, but it's inside of me, and I'm sure you've been there too. But what I believe on episode 1 of Rein It In, where we're going to learn how to reign and be everything God created us to be, where we're going to learn how to be great leaders, and we're going to learn how to grow, and we're going to tackle the hard things and hard conversations and all these things that we hope to do with this platform. I want to tell you from day one, God created you to live a wide open, spacious, big life that does incredible things on the earth, that glorifies Him and reaches people and loves people and meets the needs of everyone that you encounter. That's the life He created for you. And so if your back is up against the wall, I can give you all kinds of tools, and we'll talk over those in future episodes, but I want to set the foundation to say that if you're going to come on this journey with me to figure out what does it look like to live a life where we reign on the earth, I don't believe you can do it unless you're willing to cry out to God and let him bring you in to that wide open space. If you're listening today and you feel confined, or you feel overwhelmed, or you feel like you got to shrink back, or you got to hide, or you got to retreat, you need to know that's not what you were created for. You were not created to live small, ordinary lives. God created you to rule in and to reign, to rule in every area, to reign in every area of your life. This is Reign It In podcast, and we are going to learn what it looks like to reign in life, to reign in our leadership, to reign in our marriages, to reign in our parenting, to reign in our families, to reign in whatever gifts and calling we have on our life so that we can steward the life that we've been given. And we're not going to hold back, and we're not going to be ashamed of mistakes we've made. We're going to talk about them. I'm going to share mine with you, and I share a lot in my book that's coming out, and I'm going to interview people who are going to share those things. It's not wrong to share those things. What I believe is wrong is to stay in those places that we were created to get through, not to go to. So I'm going to wrap it up with that. Thank you so much for listening to episode 1 today. And a couple things before I go. I actually put together a little thing for the beginning of the year. A friend sent me something that inspired me, and I threw this together really quick. And I want to share it with you. And this is just daily declarations for 2026. There's 7 declarations, so you can do 1 per day. And listen, if you want to learn how to reign in your life, I truly believe the Bible says life and death are in the power of the tongue. I have not mastered this, and maybe this will be the year that I do. I need to say that better. This will be the year that I figure it out. Stop talking negative about my situation, regardless of what it looks like, right? So one of the things that I've done for a lot of years, I even have on my desk, this is not mine, but someone else sent this to me, is just a thing about my daily pep talk and things that I speak over my life and over my day. I do it in my car with my kids. They think I'm nuts, but I don't care. And so last year we would drive to school, and as we drive to school, we just would say things out loud. I'd make them repeat after me. I am a victor. I am kind. I am smart. I have opportunities to be successful, all these different things. And so I put together things I worked on that I want to share with you, that if you want to just try to get out of the rut you're in, hopefully this can encourage your day. You can save the image to your phone and just read 1 per day. Read it out loud. This is something I want to challenge myself to do, and I want to challenge you. Don't read things that you're going to speak out to yourself, because if our life is in our tongue, it doesn't say our life is in our mind and in our thinking. And there's enough battles we got to deal with up here. So speak it out and let your life follow what you speak. And so I'd love to share that with you. You can download that. It's in notes, and I'll put it with the description and all that as well. And then also, I'm going to be building a lot of content around anxiety. Like I said, I've got a book coming out this year called The Anxious Leader, From Breakdown to Breakthrough. Some of my story and struggling with anxiety. I'm working on a bunch of different things with that. And so just really excited to share that as well. And as I'm doing that, part of this podcast is I want to take questions that you might have about anxiety. I am not a health coach. I'm not a doctor, none of that stuff. If you're struggling, can I just say this right now? Just total disclaimer. I am not a doctor. I am not a psychologist. I am not a counselor. I am a trained coach. I am an ordained pastor. I am a leader, and I am a person. But what I'm sharing is just from my experience. This is not medical advice of any shape or form. If you are struggling in any way, shape, or form, do what I did. Go to a doctor. Go get the help you need so you can get the healing you need. All right, that's my disclaimer. But I'm going to share a lot of that. And one of the things I get a lot, even as I've spoke at different corporate lunches and different churches and told some of my story with anxiety, is people will line up. It's crazy to me. They'll line up with questions and they'll say, no one talks about this. No one talks about this, especially in leadership type areas, because leaders are taught to hide. We're not supposed to share all that. And so if you have questions about anxiety that you don't want to say publicly, but you're curious, send them my way. I don't have all the answers, but my hope is to find the experts who have the answers, and we can deal through those together. So you can send me a message on any of my social media platforms. And like I say, that details will be here in the notes as well. But message me any questions you have about anxiety. And as I build the next few episodes on anxiety, I would love to answer any of those with different people and different content that we'll bring on. And then lastly, if you are a leader in any way, shape, or form, or you want to be a leader in 2026, you want to start your year off reigning as a leader, I want to invite you to join some friends of mine and myself as we are hosting the Maxwell Live to Lead Leadership Simulcast. This is going to be January 24th. It's just a half day. It's a Saturday morning. Food is included, so you get to eat when you come. But listen, Maxwell puts in some of the best leaders, some of the best thought leaders of our time and coaches. You're talking people who are on a world platform, and this is exclusive content. This is not things you can go to YouTube and find. These talks are only given at this conference. So if you want to hear John Maxwell, you want to hear Craig Rochelle, there's other people in there. I'm telling you, some of these talks are amazing. I've heard some of them already. Can't wait to hear these speakers again. It's going to be an incredible time. You can follow the link there to register at Eventbrite. It's $99. $99 is not that much money to invest in your leadership, especially if I told you about the thousands that I paid to go through the Maxwell program. Listen, for $99 to get 5 talks on leadership that are going to change the trajectory of your year, it's worth it. So follow that instructions in the notes as well. Sign up, come join us. It's here in Oakland. We're hosting it at Oakland Church. If you're in Michigan, just up in northern Oakland County, north of Rochester, and it's going to be a great time. So sign up for those because tickets are going for that. It's going to be awesome time to connect and grow in our leadership together. So thank you so much for joining me. I'm excited to see where episode 2 goes because, like I said, I'm building it out. We're going to do this together because we're going to learn to reign together. So thank you for joining me, and I look forward to connecting with you in the near future. Go out and reign today. Thanks for listening to Rein It In. If this episode helped you, subscribe and share it with someone who needs it. Remember, you were not created to be small, stuck, or ruled by fear. You were created to reign. Until next time, let's go live it out.